So today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic that I've talked about on this channel kind of sort of before, but not really to the fullest extent that I would have liked. I've kind of glanced over the topic briefly, but before we get to that, Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. Thank you for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. As always, if you could, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button to make sure you stay up to date with all of my future Teachable Tuesdays content. And also, I'm going to just put a little disclaimer in there. Make sure that when you guys are looking at my videos, that you are definitely liking and not just subscribing, but liking the content. The reason why I say that is because the algorithm is always changing. And I think it's one of those things now where if you're not normally viewing certain channels, they don't necessarily put you in the forefront of the algorithm. So if you're thinking that I may have disappeared, maybe you're watching this and you haven't seen any of my videos in a while, trust me, I've been uploading now a lot more than ever. But again, the algorithm has changed quite a bit. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to get started today. We're going to be talking about age gap. And does age gap really matter? Or better yet, what is the fuss about age gap? Why is it a big deal? And I say age gap when it comes to romantic relationships. Why is it a big deal? What are the pros and cons of large age gaps? Are there any pros and cons of smaller age gaps or same age dating? So we're really going to dive deep into it today. This might be a little bit of a longer video, so just bear with me. And these are really just my thoughts, nothing articles, no comments from social media, other pages. These are just strictly my thoughts and what I think. And I want you guys to leave a comment below and tell me what you guys think as well. So I'll start with the general question, as I've stated on this channel before. Does age gap matter in romantic relationships as adults? All right, I'm talking about 18 and over now. And here's my thought process on that. So it does, but it doesn't. And here's why I say it does, but it doesn't. There's no concrete black or white answer to that. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of times people will say, oh, if this person is this age, if they're X amount of older or X amount of younger, it doesn't make a difference. But I mean, it does make a difference. But I want to bring something very interesting up that I just thought about literally this morning. Your preferences on age and a lot of other things when it comes to dating changes a lot, right? I'll give you an example. I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and we were voice messaging each other, and I listened to her voice message, and she said, the same things that were non-negotiables for me when I was 19 are a lot different now that I'm in my 30s, right? And it brought up a very interesting point because I was like, you know what? You're right. Things do change. Like for me, currently as the recording this video, I'm 34 years old, right? When I was 19, 20, 21, I strictly only wanted to date women my age, right? I wasn't trying to date anybody younger. I wasn't trying to date anybody older. It was strictly my age group. Maybe a year younger or a year older, but I typically didn't go past that because the mindset I had was, I can't relate to you, right? Then as I got older, I experimented a little bit throughout my 20s. As I got to my mid-20s, my late 20s, it was like, okay, we'll figure it out, so on and so forth. I think when I was in my 20s, the youngest I dated was 5 years. The oldest I dated was by 8 years, right? Then I got to my 30s and I made a decision. I said, you know what? When I turned 30, it was 7 down, 7 up. So I wouldn't date anyone younger than 23. I wouldn't date anyone older than 37. I thought that was a pretty good sweet spot. You know what I'm saying? That was my way of thinking. And then it finally changed again, right? When I got to the age of 33, I said, okay, you know what? I started opening my mind a little bit more. I said, I will date a woman who is 21 and over, but doesn't exceed me past 4 to 5 years. So at the time being, it was 21 through really 38. So that's what I was set on for a long time. I didn't have a non-negotiable for dating a woman over that 5-year span. I definitely had a non-negotiable when it came to dating someone under the age of 21, because for me, the mindset is maturity is just not there. And then you also got to remember, I teach high school seniors. So a lot of these jits, when I have them, by the time they graduate, they 17, 18, even 19 years old, right? So I couldn't imagine me dating an 18, 19, 20-year-old that literally just graduated from high school. Like, no, your maturity level is just not there. You might be a cool people. You might be a cool person. Cool people. Shout out to cool people, by the way. And I know some dope 19, 20, 21 years olds at the school that I go to. But, you know, the few that I interact with that are of the opposite sex, I wouldn't date them because, you know, no. I wouldn't even, quote unquote, even if I was in a relationship. Obviously, I'm not going to do this because I'm in a relationship, but even if I was about that life outside of a relationship, I wouldn't even, quote unquote, have fun. You know what, quote unquote, have fun means, because again, the maturity level is just not there. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's just me, you know? And then I think, you know, again, things change as you age. You know, if I was 22 years old and I knew what I knew now, I might date someone who's 19 or 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? And it's like this whole thing, right, about dating and, you know, why age matters and so on and so forth. And it's just, it's not black and white. It really isn't. Like, for example, I am at this point of my life thus far, the best relationship, the best romantic relationship that I've ever experienced, right? And the individual that I'm with, she's 7 years older than me, right? So I know some people might look at that and be like, oh, that's cool. Other people might look at that and be like, she older than you. For me, the way I look at it is, this woman is loving. This woman is caring. This woman, she loves God. I mean, that probably should have been number one, but that's a very important aspect to me. She is amazing. She checks off a lot of my boxes. You know what I'm saying? And I never expected a woman to check off all my boxes. I always tell people, if she could check off at least 65 to 70% of my boxes, I'm good. This woman checks off about a good 90% of my boxes. I'll be a darn fool. And I'm attracted to this woman. Woo! I'll be a darn fool to let her go. I'm just saying. But I bring all this up to say that as much as we say age matters and so on and so forth and blah, blah this and blah, blah that, I think what it boils down to oftentimes is what works for y'all, right? What works for y'all? Because prior to me, and she probably gonna kill me for putting this business out here, it is what it is, but I know she wouldn't have looked at a man that was younger than her based on what she told me. I'm just putting it out there, you know what I'm saying? So things change, not even so much as you get older, but also as you experience life more, right? Again, I'd never considered trying to date a 21-year-old or anybody that was really under the age of 25 for that matter until I was like in my 30s. And the reason being was because I just was like, you know, let me expand my mind a little bit and see what's out there. And I've dated many women from the age of, the youngest I've actually went, and I'm not just talking about like relationships, I'm talking about just dating and getting to know people. The youngest I've went is 22. Oldest I've went, obviously, is my lady right now, who's 41, right? So let's get into another thing, right? Why is age gap such a big deal for the ladies as opposed to the fellas? Because I think for fellas, age gap is a thing for us, but we really don't talk about it as much. So actually, no, I'm gonna start with the fellas. Let me start with the easy mode part. I think the reason why age gap really doesn't matter as much to us, to a degree, is because it's always been throughout society that older men would date younger women, right? I'll give you some examples. My grandfather and my grandmother, Pop and Grandma, may they both rest in peace, love them to death. 10 years apart. When Pop got married to Grandma, He was 33, she was 23. She was still in college when they got married. No, I'm sorry. She wasn't in college. She was fresh out of college, right? Just graduated from Coppin State University, located in Baltimore, Maryland. Grandfather, he had just got out of the military. Unfortunately, he lost his first wife. May she rest in peace as well. You know what I'm saying? And met my grandma, and the rest was history. You know what I'm saying? I've told the backstory on that channel before. It's pretty hilarious if you want to check that out. But nonetheless, they're 10 years apart. My dad and my stepmom. My dad met my stepmom when he was 28, she was 21. She was also fresh out of college, which interesting theme going on here, right? 7 years apart, right? I also realized that the older you get, the less age gap matters to some degree as well, right? Because a lot of people, they will look at it like, if you are a 45-year-old man and you're trying to date a 20-year-old, they'll be like, oh, he's trying to be manipulative, oh this and oh that. And that's not true at all. But let's advance them both 20 years. If she's 45 and if she's 40 and he's 65, people ain't gonna look at it like it's a big deal. Oh, well, they older, they got experience. And I think that's one of the things that kind of falls into the whole age gap conversation. A lot of it ties into experience. A lot of people think, oh, well, she doesn't have enough experience or he doesn't have enough experience, so therefore it doesn't make sense for them to date an older woman trying to manipulate a younger man, an older man trying to manipulate a younger woman, and that is not true at all. I get people's concerns about it to some degree because I was having a conversation with a couple of coworkers and they made some very valid points on both ends of the spectrum. We had a very nice conversation, which, by the way, I'm going to have a panel talking about this before this year's over with. So be on the lookout for that. I want y'all to hear other people's thoughts as well, because I think sometimes on this channel, people just be thinking I be talking outside of my neck. And I'm like, no, I promise you I'm not. But, you know, it's also good to hear other people's perspectives as well. So I ain't even going to hold you there, right? But it really depends on the two individuals that are getting to know each other, that are dating in a relationship, whatever the case may be. And it also depends on your perspective on how you look at things. Yes, there are certainly some 40-year-old men who would date a 19-year-old, which I couldn't do it, big dog. That ain't me. That's too big of an age gap. Nah, big dog. But if it works for them, it works for them. As long as he didn't know that woman when she was a jit. If you don't know what I mean by jit, Florida term for kid, also a term of endearment, little vocabulary lesson for y'all. That's my only discrepancy, because unfortunately, you do have a few men out here that are predators, and they be looking at little girls growing to young women, and then they try to date them. And sometimes they even be molding them low-key. I'm not even saying low-key, high-key, right? And that junk is absolutely disgusting. So my whole mindset is, if I didn't know you before you were the age of 18 and within a younger setting, I always look at it like that's fair game, right? That is absolute fair game. And I know some people might disagree with me on this, and some people might say, well, Marcus, are you one of those guys? And, you know, no, I'm just putting it bluntly. You know what I'm saying? I don't see an issue in that. Now, again, it don't matter now because I'm in a relationship, but when I wasn't in a relationship, I wasn't dating anyone below the age of 21. You know what I'm saying? That was just me. But people do what works for them. And as long as both parties understand what's going on, then I don't think it should be a big deal. I think there are certain things that you do have to learn when it comes to dating someone older or dating someone younger, pretty much dating somebody that's not the same age or close to the same age as you. You know, my last relationship, we were 7 to 8 years apart. I was older by 7 to 8 years. And there were a lot of things I had to learn in realizing that, okay, not only is she younger than me, but she's younger than me by a significant amount. When I say significant amount, I think anyone who is more than 6 years older or younger, that's a pretty significant age gap. I know some people might not think it's a big deal, but actually I'm going to say 7. I'm going to say 7. 7 or more. And I say 7 or more because that is enough to create half a generation of differences, right? Half a generation of differences. For example, if somebody that was born in 79 is dating someone who was born in 90, that's a huge difference, right? Because not only is that person that was born in 79 coming off the tail end of the 70s, but they grew up as a kid in the 80s, right? They grew up as a kid in the 80s and 90s, whereas the person who was born in 90 grew up as a kid in the 90s and 2000s. So they're going to look at life from 2 different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're only 11 years apart, and let's just say, you know, they met when they were 41 and 30, right? A lot of people are not going to look at that like it's a big deal. But there are some differences, and those discussions would have to take place, right? Let me talk about the whole manipulation aspect, because there are a few ladies out here that think that when older men date younger women, it's to be manipulative. Now, can that be the case? Is that a possibility? Yes, absolutely. Just same thing on the reverse side. When an older woman is dating a younger man, could manipulation be involved? Yes. I don't think it's as high as people make it out to be. Let me put my ladies on game. One of the reasons why older men date younger women is not because they can't get a woman their age or anything like that. It's for 1 of 3 reasons. Number 1, that's just who they like. Sometimes you can't help who you're attracted to. You know what I'm saying? You might meet a man who's 50 and he meets a woman who's 38. It is what it is. And they just kick it off, and it's the best relationship both of them have ever had. Such is life, right? Second reason is youthfulness, right? I believe that when a woman takes good care of herself, and this is just my personal opinion, when she takes good care of herself, she gonna be beautiful for a long, long, long time. Especially my Black and Hispanic ladies. Black and Hispanic don't crack when you take care of yourself. Notice I put when you take care of yourself, and as one of my friends said, when you don't do crack, right? So, youthfulness equals beauty, and men are very visual individuals. So when they see a younger woman, they're gonna view her as they could view her as beautiful, because not every man's attracted to every woman, so on and so forth. And reason number 3, if a man wants children, he's gonna, I'm not saying this is always the case, but he's going to look at a woman who's younger, because the older that a woman gets, the more challenges she will have with childbirth. Now, is it impossible for a woman to have a child after 30, after 35, after 40, after 45, after 50? Absolutely not. God be doing some crazy things in this world, things you never thought would happen, things that, quote unquote, we've came up with as humans to say, oh, this can't be done. Nah, that's cap. God could do anything he wants. The God I serve, I don't know about the God you serve, but the God I serve, Yahweh the Most High, he can do anything he wants. And not only that, we have the technology to help out with that as well, to hopefully make child complications a little, less, right? But we know that, biological clock of a woman, it changes quickly after she reaches her 30s. It's just a fact. This is not no slander or no diss to women. I mean, I've had many, many women tell me this ever since I was in my 20s, right? So those are 3 main reasons why you may see an older man typically date a younger woman. But I also believe that sometimes social media and the internet be stretching the truth, right? They act like every guy out here is trying to date a younger woman, or every woman out here is trying to date a younger man. That's not necessarily the case. Now, is it typical that you find more older men dating younger women than older women dating younger men? Absolutely, for the reasons that I just described. But again, it goes back to my saying, people do what works for them. And that goes for any aspect of relationships, including age gaps. I think we need to stop believing the social media hype. We need to stop getting into people's business and just mind your business. Mind the business that pays you. Ladies, if you see an older man dating a younger woman and their relationship is going great, don't be trying to drag that man, right? Fellas, if you see an older woman trying to date a younger man and their relationship is going well, don't drag that man. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know there's pros and cons to dating somebody older or dating somebody younger. There's pros and cons to just dating, period. You could be dating somebody the same age as you, and it's still going to be pros and cons, not even because of the age, just because you have two different individuals coming together trying to figure out how they can make it work in each other's worlds. Bottom line, it's always going to be pros and cons to that, because no one person on this planet is the same. God did not create all of us the same. And therefore, when God didn't create all of us the same, you automatically should know that it's just different. It's one of the reasons why when it says in the Bible, two shall become one flesh, you know how beautiful that scripture is? Now, granted, I know it's in relation to two things. It's in relation to covenant with God under the marriage, and it's in relation to physical intimacy. I'm talking about more so the marriage covenant part. It's a beautiful thing, y'all. Beautiful thing. Because you can have some little boy born in Nebraska, have a little girl born in Tokyo. They meet when they're adults in, I don't know, Texas. Get to know each other. Things are great. God brings them together. They have 4 kids, right? You know how beautiful that is? Like, what deity could set that up so immaculately? Nobody else but God, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I'll use myself as an example too. And I'm not going to tell the full story right now. That's going to be a testimony video for another day because, well, you'll see when the time comes. But anyways, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. My lady's from the Bronx, right? She moved down to Florida when she was a jet. I ain't moved down to Florida until, I guess if you want to be technical, my Cookman days. And somehow, some way, this little girl from the Bronx, who's now a grown woman, and this little boy from Baltimore, Maryland, who is now a grown man, somehow their paths crossed due to a mutual old friend that they had, and now they're together. Can you just tell how beautiful that is? And bump that. Wait till you hear the full story. Again, I ain't telling no time soon. We both gonna be on this video. Let me make sure I let her know in advance before she... hopefully I would have told her about it, because she gonna look at this video and be like, what? But I'm gonna wrap this video up. I say all that to say this. Let's not put so much emphasis on the age thing, right? Again, if they're both legal, if the man didn't see the woman, if the man didn't know the woman when she was a kid or adolescent, and if the woman didn't know the man when he was an adolescent, it's fair game. I know some of you guys might disagree with me. You might have your reasons, and respectfully, I would love to hear your thoughts and your viewpoints as the reason why. Because I do believe there are both men and women that don't like big age gaps, right? And I think that's fine. There are also men and women that don't have an issue, and they understand all the viewpoints. But at the end of the day, remember, what works for one group might not work for you. And that's perfectly fine. You might be like, I just want to stick to people that are my age. If they ain't exactly 30 years old, I don't want to date them. Not 29.5, not 30.5. They got to be 30. Okay, cool. Or you might say, I don't want to date older women or older men. That's cool. You might be like, I don't want to date younger women and younger men. One of my best friends, he's like, I'm not dating women that are too much younger than me because of the maturity aspect and other factors. And I respect his stance, and I completely understand why. Excuse me. At the end of the day, people got to do what works for them. All right. This video has gone on way too long, so we're going to wrap it up here. But if you've made it to this point, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I really, really appreciate you for just taking some time out to just listen. You know what I'm saying? And again, I would really love to hear your viewpoints. Please leave a comment below. Please share this video. And let's have a healthy dialogue about this. All right? Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. Thank you for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it as always. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button to stay up to date with future Teachable Tuesdays content. And I got some important announcements coming up this week, so stay tuned. Peace.